Everyone, let us study human eye today. We have a pair of eyes in the ventral portion of the body, in the face, and the human eyes contain photoreceptors, due to which it is considered as a sense organ. Photoreceptors means that they function in the presence of light. So if light is present, we are able to see, and in dim light also we are able to form an image, but that is not always very clear. So photoreceptors help the human eye to be one of the sense organs. Human eye is present in the skull, in the face I told, and in the skull. If this is the skull region, there are two orbits that are present. So the orbits are quite large, but the eye which is exposed is just 1/6 of the entire human eye. So human eye is quite large, but then what we see in the face is just 1/6. So this eye orbit, also known as sockets, orbits or sockets, lodge the eye inside. These are present on the ventral surface, that is in the front portion of the body. The back is known as the dorsal surface. So in the face, on the ventral surface, the human eyes are present with only 1/6 exposed. The human eyes are connected to 6 pairs of eye muscles. These eye muscles help it to move up and down, or from sides or oblique movements. Whatever eye has to perform the movement, these 6 pairs of eye muscles help it to move. Now, before we study the structure of the human eye, let us study certain structures which are related to eye. We call them as accessory eye structures. They are not actually involved in the formation of image, but they are a sort of protection to the eye. Let us discuss them first in brief. The first one is eyebrows. Eyebrows are lateral growth of hair that is present above the eye. Now this is a bushy growth that is present in this manner. If this is the eye, the eyebrows are present and are arched in this manner. The lateral growth, that is the sideways growth, is present in this manner, and these eyebrows never allow anything to fall from the head region, from the hair, like the sweat or any sort of dust that may come from the forehead down into the eye. So eyebrows actually protect, and if anything like raindrops, if you are walking outside and rainpour is being done, then at that time the raindrops also just come in this way and it moves down, so it prevents anything to fall into the eye. The second one is eyelids. Eyelids are thin muscular folds. We have two eyelids, the upper eyelid and the lower eyelid. The lower eyelid is fixed, it is immovable. It's only the upper eyelid that can move, and the movement is only to close the eyeball. That means the eyeball is exposed when the upper eyelid has moved up, and when it closes, it covers the entire eyeball. So the upper eyelid actually closes whenever there is some extreme air or light that is focused on the eyeball. In case of extreme sunlight, when we are moving outside, the eyelid automatically closes, or a flash of light when it comes in your eye when you are sitting in dark, the eyelid automatically closes. So this is to protect you from any extreme air or light. The eyelids bear the eyelashes. Eyelashes are hair, and these hair are curved. In both the upper and the lower eyelid, the eyelashes are present, and these eyelashes protect the eye from dust. So if you are moving in a dusty road, the eyelashes get coated with the dirt and they do not allow the dirt to come inside. Then there are certain glands. Tear glands. These are also known as lacrimal glands, Zeiss glands, and meibomian glands. Now this is the eye. This tells this is the eye which is present in the face, and this is the lacrimal gland. The lacrimal gland is present in the upper eyelid at the extreme end, and from here there is a duct arising. From the glands there are many ducts arising, but from here there is a duct arising which allows the tear to flow down the cheek in this manner. So this is the lacrimal gland which is situated at each eye. This is one lacrimal gland and another lacrimal gland in the other eye, and the tears usually flow down from this region. There is a connection between eye and nose. The duct forms a nasolacrimal duct, due to which the sensation whenever there is the tear flow from this lacrimal duct, also the mucus runs down from the nose, and therefore whenever a person is crying out of certain emotional outburst or any sort of dust goes into the eye, both the eyes as well as the nose runs. The Zeiss glands and the meibomian glands are modified sebaceous glands. They secrete a sticky mucus-like fluid in the surface of the eye to prevent the drying of the eye. And whenever the eye blinks, at that time this lubrication is spread on the surface of the eye, lubricating the surface as well as not allowing the eye to dry up. These are present in the eyelids, in the hair, because these are sebaceous glands, and sebaceous glands are associated with hair, and therefore they are present in the eyelids. Let us study the characteristic features of eye. The first one is accommodation. Accommodation means that the human eyes can see things which are nearby as well as far off. Normally when we are wearing spectacles, we need lenses which help us to see things which are nearby and things which are far off. But in natural eyes, the accommodation power helps us to locate the lens in such a manner that we can see things which are nearby also, and it changes the focal length of the eye when we want to see the things far off. So this is what is the accommodation of the lens, which helps us to see things nearby as well as far off. The second characteristic feature of the eye, human eye, is binocular vision. Binocular vision is that type of vision which gives us a unique capacity to perceive only one image. This is present in humans, in apes, and also monkeys. So binocular vision helps us to focus one object. Both the eyes can see one object, and the image which is formed by the retina of both the eyes overlap, and then only one image is perceived by the brain, and we are able to see things very nicely. While in monocular vision, in other mammals like cattle, etc., you see that one of the eye is on one side of the head and the other eye on the other side. So they are able to see only one object through one eye. That is what is called as monocular vision. But ours, human eye, is having binocular vision. The third one is stereoscopic vision. The stereoscopic vision helps us to form three-dimensional image. It gives us the perception of depth also, as well as it also helps us to see how far the object is. So it helps us to judge the distance and the depth accurately by giving a three-dimensional image of an object. Let us now learn how to draw the diagram of a human eye. This diagram shows the vertical section of human eye showing internal structure. Now the human eye consists of three layers. The second layer is quite thick and is highly vascular, so I am drawing it in red. This shows the presence of blood vessels. What do you mean by being vascular? Vascular means the presence of blood vessels. The outermost layer is known as sclera or the white of the eye. The middle layer is the choroid, and here is the lens. From the choroid arises the ciliary body, which is the ciliary muscles also, and from the ciliary body arises the suspensory ligaments which are connected to the lens. When the ciliary body and suspensory ligaments contract and relax, the convexity of the lens changes. This only helps in accommodation. And the innermost layer, the third layer, is the retina. Now this retina is the photosensitive layer. This place has a depression and this place has a depression. The outermost layer is this is the middle layer. The outermost layer is sclera, the middle layer is choroid, and the innermost layer is retina. These three are the layers of the human eye. In retina, there is a depression over here. This forms the yellow spot. The yellow spot is also called as fovea macula. And this place another depression. This is the blind spot. This is so called as blind spot because here are no rods and cones present. The rods and cones are the photosensitive cells that are present in the retina. This is the origin of the optic nerve. Blind spot is always found in the from where the optic nerve arises. Now in the choroid layer, I told you this is the ciliary muscles, and these are suspensory ligaments. This is a clear biconvex lens. The blue, that is the outermost sclera, has the front region curved, which is called as cornea. This is a clear transparent region from where the light rays enter, and the outermost layer is conjunctiva. In front of the lens is the iris. This iris is colored. It gives color to the eye, and this opening is called as pupil. So it is the iris which governs the contraction and relaxation of the pupil. When the iris retracts back, the pupil is much relaxed and it opens, and when it is covered, the pupil becomes constricted. So the movement of iris only controls the opening, constriction, and the dilation of the pupil. So this is what is the structure of human eye. Now lens divides the section into two parts. This is the middle part, which is called as vitreous chamber, and it is filled with a jelly like substance called as vitreous humor. This part is behind the lens, and in front of the lens there is another chamber. This chamber is known as aqueous chamber, and the aqueous chamber is filled with aqueous humor. This is a watery liquid. Vitreous humor is jelly-like material and aqueous humor is watery liquid, and this is secreted by the ciliary body. The ciliary muscles, which are made up of radial muscles, these only help in secretion of the aqueous humor, which is the watery liquid in the front. The sclera is the white of the eye. It helps in protecting the inner parts of the eye. It is quite tough and it helps in giving shape to the eye also. Now, as I said, choroid is the middle layer and it is highly vascular. It is made up of blood vessels, and these blood vessels help in nourishment and also providing oxygen to the eye. And the photosensitive layer is the retina. The photosensitive layer means it comprises of those cells which perceive the light, the photoreceptors, rods and cones, and it helps in formation of image. So how is the working of eye? If the light which strikes the object comes back into the eye, it first has to cross the conjunctiva, and from the conjunctiva it enters into the cornea, and from the cornea it comes into the aqueous humor, then through the pupil, lens, and then into the vitreous chamber, and then strikes on the retina. The retina forms the image. This image is inverted and real, and this goes from the optic nerve to the brain. The brain interprets the message, and so happens with the other eye also. So there are two images which is formed by two different eyes, and both the images are overlapped, and the brain interprets it into one final image which we see. And conjunctiva, the outermost layer, is actually a sort of protection, and this is a dead layer. This dead layer does not allow any type of bacterial infection to come inside, rather it gets infected on its own. So it is the inflammation of conjunctiva which we call as conjunctivitis. It inflames the eye layer and the eye becomes red at that particular time. This is cornea, which is the front curved portion of the sclera, which helps in eye transplantation. Usually we think that the eye transplantation considers the entire transplantation of the eye, but it is actually the corneal transplantation. It's the cornea actually which is donated during eye donation and transplantation during eye transplantation. So cornea is very important. The retina, as I said, consists of the photoreceptor cells, the rods and cones. Rods are about 130 million and cones are about 10 million. So in all, these photoreceptors count to be 140 million altogether. In human eyes, the rods are more rather than cones. However, we are using the cones during daytime to form a bright colored image. The rods help in formation of image in the dim light or during the night time. So yellow spot which is seen over here in the eye, that is almost present in the center of retina, is also known as fovea macula, having the concentration of cones. So this is the place where the best image is formed. So we call this as yellow spot or the place of best vision. While in blind spot, which is present at the origin of the optic nerve, no rods and cones are formed. Since there are no photoreceptor cells here, no image is formed, and so we call this spot as blind spot. Sometimes in the exam, the question comes to differentiate between yellow spot and blind spot. Now let us study some eye defects. This is the first eye defect, called as myopia or short-sightedness. In this eye defect, the person can see things which clearly which are nearby, but those things which are very far off are not seen clearly. So this is the defective eye, and what happens is that the image is formed in front of the retina. It not falls on the retina. If this is the candle, the object, and if the light comes falling from the object, the image is formed in front of the retina, and therefore a person has the blurred vision of all those things which are present at the far distance. So a person is only able to see things which are nearby. So it is called as short-sightedness. This is usually when the eyeball gets lengthened due to faulty reading habits or lying while you're reading, or if you're reading in dim light, etc. This defective eye can be corrected by putting a concave lens in front. So if the concave lens is in front, the image is formed then on the retina. So a person can wear the spectacles having concave lens. Now this is the second defect, hypermetropia, and it is also known as long-sightedness. In this, the image is formed beyond the retina, and therefore a person does not the person has blurred vision of the things which are present nearby. So he does not see things which are nearby clearly. So he is able to see things which are only far off. So this is corrected by placing a biconvex lens in front of the eye. So the spectacles having convex lens rectifies and the image is formed on the retina. So this is the diagram showing the corrected eye. This is the image on the retina. The third eye defect is astigmatism. In this eye defect, usually there is uneven curvature of either lens or cornea. This is an age defect, so usually elderly people suffer from it. This can be corrected by cylindrical lenses. Although the person may never be able to see very nicely, but cylindrical lenses usually help in astigmatism. Then the fourth defect is presbyopia. In this defect, the flexibility of the lens is lost. This is again found mostly in elderly people who are unable to see nearby objects clearly. This can be corrected by using convex lens. Then cataract. Cataract is also known as Safed Motia, and this is a condition in which the lens becomes opaque, leading to complete blindness. The defect is corrected by surgery by removing the lens and then by again implanting a new highly convex lens. Nowadays, small plastic lens is implanted behind the iris. Night blindness. This is caused due to deficiency of vitamin A. Vitamin A actually helps in the synthesis of the pigment called as rhodopsin. Rhodopsin is the pigment which is found in rods. Rods help us seeing in dim light. This pigment is a purple pigment which is present in rods. So rods is synthesized with the help of vitamin A. So if vitamin A is not taken properly in diet, so this is a deficiency disease. So if vitamin A is not properly taken in diet, rhodopsin synthesis is barred, and therefore a person suffers from night blindness because rods are not properly manufactured, and therefore there is inability in seeing in the dim light. And the last defect is color blindness. Color blindness is a genetic defect. This is present right from birth and it can never be rectified. It is the inability to differentiate between red and green color. You may see the description box for the questions that may be coming in the board exam, and if you have any doubt, you may ask me in the comment section. Thank you.